Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 171.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast, the podcast that teaches you insider tips, tactics, and strategies for creating leverage streams of cash flow into your life. Learn from top-performing entrepreneurs, business owners, investors, and thought leaders from across the globe as they share their secrets to success. Like what you learn on this and other Cashflow Diary podcast episodes? Go to learninvestingnow.com and sign up to receive powerful tips and information that will help you succeed as an entrepreneur and investor. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, educator, speaker, author, and master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game, Jay Massey.
All right, and welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast. This is Jay Massey, your host, and I am glad that you are here. Here's why I'm glad this time. I'm glad because there can be times when you are out there building cash flow where you don't really know what it's going to take to make it happen. And there are times when you're thinking, man, how on earth am I going to make it? More importantly, you feel like there's something that's being hidden from you and you wish you knew it so that you could grow your business to something larger than you thought possible. Well, one of the keys to that is obviously having a great team. And I think today's guest is an excellent expert on not only team building, but going through the years. We're talking time tested and proven to make your business all that it can be. He's going to share that with us, and he's going to help you do the exact same thing. Today's guest is Mike Agugliaro, and what you need to understand is that for more than 2 decades, that's 20 years, that's a long time, as the co-owner of New Jersey's largest and respected services company, Gold Medal Service, Mike has played a key role in building gold medal success. Now, you've got to understand something. Having a business for a long time, let's call it 2 decades, is impressive enough. But being able to take a company from what's doing $1 million a year, which for some of us would be like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe it. This is awesome. I have made it to heaven, to more than 24 million. I'm thinking he knows sales. I'm thinking he knows growth. I'm thinking he knows a whole lot of stuff that can help you and I get to where we're trying to go. He's recently come out with a book, The Secrets of Business Mastery, and what I want to do is introduce him to you. Mike, are you there?
Yeah. Hey, Jay. How you doing?
I'm good so far, and glad to talk again.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me to the show today.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. Now, many of the people who are listening, they know the first question I'm going to ask us. It's always the same. And I tend to look at, today's entrepreneurs a lot like yesterday's superheroes. You could look at Batman, Robin, Hawkeye, Black Widow, whomever you want to talk about. I look like today's entrepreneurs are a lot like yesterday's superheroes, simply because superheroes, they get dressed up. They use their tools or superpowers or what have you to help people, usually out of their own mess, but they use them to help people and improve the quality of life of others. However, before they were super, they started somewhere. They came from something happened to them, and then one day they emerged into the superhero that we now see. They all have an origin story. So what I would really like to know is, before you were out there killing it in business and growing businesses and making things happen for yourself and others, who is Mike?
Yeah, so, Mike is a guy who graduates to vocational school as an electrician. I went to school as that. And I always say I'm a survivor of a divorced family. So as a young kid, 15, 16 years old, I was already living on my own with my brother and graduated vocational school and figured, hey, I'm a pretty good electrician. I must know how to do business. And for the first 10 years, I could tell you that it was a lot of torture, a lot of pain. I just kept ignoring it, right? I got numb. I was like the dog that lays on the nail. And you say, why is that dog laying on the nail? It's just because the dog gets used to laying on the nail until my son's going to be born and I'm running to the hospital. I almost don't make it there in time we have the birth of my son. It's a gift. We have the whole crying thing. And then after they take the baby away to do the whole cleaning, my wife turns to me and she's like, hey, how'd the job go today? And I'm sitting here thinking, oh my God, I turned into my dad, right? Hardest working man on the planet. But he only knew what his father taught him, just work hard and, never be around. And not that that was his choice, but that's what he learned. And I was becoming that. And I remember going home that night and building, and on the way home, a customer's yelling at me that I didn't show up on the job on time. And I'm going home to put together the, sliding rocker and this and that. And I just remember breaking down crying saying, there's got to be a different way. This cannot be the father and the husband I'm going to become. And that was one of the very major sledgehammer to the head turning points for me.
Wow. Now, something you mentioned that I think, I'm just curious if you think it made a positive impact is you said you were a survivor of a divorced family. And I'm sitting here thinking, did that, and then you said really quickly that for the first 10 years, most people don't last that long in the not so fun stage. And you was like, for the first 10 years, and I'm thinking survivor, I'm putting those two things together and wondering, why do you think that survivor mentality helped you make it through those first 10 years?
Well, it made me resilient, right? To deal with problems because, my parents created one of those tug-o-war, fights that they had. And it was a long time for them to figure everything out through the divorce, 4 years. And I just remember it was just, a lot of different types of argument and complaining and who's on what side. And so first, I think that makes you pretty tough, but it also makes you pretty angry and close-minded and probably ego-based, and a lot of these habits that I created myself through this experience. And that's why I say a survivor, because I know today, I don't know, the divorce rate is like 40+%. And I think people look at it as not it should be looked at almost like a caterpillar blossoms into a new butterfly, but it's not. It's like a caterpillar got run over by a car. And that's kind of how I felt growing up. And then I just took that into my business where I just kept running the grind, right? I was on this big human hamster wheel. And the faster I tried to run, I kept ending up in the same place, because when you run on the hamster wheel, you think you're moving forward, but you're still in the same spot of the wheel.
Well, the wind at least feels like it's going by faster. You definitely end up in the same spot, but usually more tired.
That's right.
Usually more tired. Now, when I'm just kind of wondering here, what clicked? Something had to click first that helped you. I mean, don't get me wrong, 1 million a year is great, but 1 million to 24? That's not a small improvement. So that says there was a radical change of something, and I'd love to know what that is.
Well, the radical change was I came to, I guess you would say, the awakening just to ask questions. Like, there's got to, that question, there's just got to be more. There has to be an easier way. Somebody had to have figured this out. And I don't remember at like the exact moment. I know because, when I look at the 10 years of going through business, and you know what, Jay, I just remembered there is a moment. We're 10 years in, and my business partner that I started the business with, we started as best friends. We started the business at that time, which is now 20 years ago. And 10 years into all that pain, he came in one day and he said to me, Mike, I can't do it no more, man. I can't take it. My body's beaten up. My mind's beaten up. I mean, he said, this just isn't fun no more. I just can't take it. And I said, well, you know what? That's it. We're done. Let's close it up. And he says, no, you got to keep doing it. Just keep doing your thing. I was like, no, I started this business with you. And I said, we're either doing it together and we're going to find a way to fix it, or we're done. We'll just close it up. And he turned to me and he said, and it still chokes me up to think about this today. He turned and he said, man, I never thought you would say that. And he goes, I'm not going anywhere. We're going to figure this out. And that was the turning point for us to then start to discover who did this and who did it different. And We're still in business today. He's still my very best friend, and he's my business partner for over 20 years, not only in the service business we're talking about, but in many businesses that we have.
Got it. So it was just a collective decision, kind of one of those bridge burning moments, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. That makes perfect sense to me. Now, here's an interesting question, because there are a number of people who I know that are listening to this particular episode who maybe they're thinking about, hey, should I go into business? They want to, they've been working either their job or maybe their small business or whatever for a long time, and they're thinking about, quote unquote, going on their own. How do you manage the courage to make that bridge burning decision?
Yeah. So, I always say it's the first three pieces to what I call the 9 pillars of business mastery. And the first thing is it's a mindset thing, right? You have to come to grips with your own mind that there is people today, and to make it worse, there's 10-year-olds and 12-year-old people today that are starting businesses
Right.
and becoming millionaires in short periods of time. The reason why most people don't have the courage is because they don't have what I call number 2 of the pillars, which is skill set, right? They're missing some of the knowledge. What do I do? When do I do? How do I do it? And the nice thing is, like in many people, I think Anthony Robbins, many people say it, right? Success leaves clues. So other people had walked the path. And then the third pillar is action. You have to be willing to take action. So once you understand the mindset, hey, I can do this because others had did it before me. 2, okay, I just need to find who has built a business and how did they start it just last year, and are they winning? And 3, how do I take action?
Exactly. Now, that had to be a very transformative thing for you, as well as your business partner, because most of the electricians I know don't do millions of dollars a year. So I'm curious to know what some of the basic things that you began to change were. Like, what was that first thing where you began to see that large swing that said, hey, this thing has legs, and more importantly, we can do this?
Yeah. The first thing was and somebody said it to me a long time ago, and it's that, look, you can't grow $1 million business with a $50,000 mind, right? Nice. So the first thing was I knew I needed to think different. I needed to think like an entrepreneur. I needed to understand the behaviors of what I did, like my habits, right? And I learned early on that if I start creating patterns, that patterns would create habits, and habits would create these outcomes. So that was the first thing to come to grips with. The second thing was, look, I mean, I was already in pain, how I was doing it. How much poor pain could there actually be? Right? So it's the realization it can't really, look, when you hit rock bottom of pain, like there's no further, there's only up from there. And I came to reality, it is going to be better for us to go for it and fail, because it couldn't have been any worse, than stay exactly where we were.
Now, when you talk about failure, though, there are a lot of people who are I say they're trying to get it right the first time, and they don't want to have that experience. What role did failing play in being able to grow? I mean, a caterpillar has to, go into a cocoon and become something different over time. Well, you don't always get there with the first try.
Yeah, I go back to the quote that's been around forever, and a lot of people know it, the Thomas Edison, right? And they say, it took him, 10,000 times to create the light bulb. And when he was asked, wow, you failed 9,999 times? And he goes, no, I just found 9,999 ways not to create a light bulb.
Right.
But along the way of all those failures, there's always a learning. There's always a positive side. There's always another growth out of it, as long as you look at it that way. So, we use the word failure, entrepreneurs today, but the most successful failures, we just don't want to say achievements in failing, because people just wouldn't understand the dynamics. But every failure is another accomplishment for it. It taught me something I should never do again or something to do different.
And indeed. And it takes, I think that resilience you were talking about earlier is what has contributed to your ability to fail and draw out the lesson from that particular experience. Now, when it comes to growing the business, what you have a number of different growth strategies. I believe you speak about them a little bit in one of your books, and I would love for you to share with us if you had to say, okay, here's a step by step, here's what you're gonna need to do if you want to grow your business to 7 figures and beyond. Like, what does that look like, for most entrepreneurs in your mind?
Yeah, I'll give you a couple of big pieces that I see that are missed when we're coaching companies. And one of the biggest pieces is people are trying to sell the same stuff as somebody else. There's no what I call X factor to it, right? They're all trying to sell oranges, but they're all struggling to sell the oranges. And then it becomes this price war of something, of who's going to sell it, a race to the bottom at the cheapest price. But, instead of creating this X factor where the one person says, well, I sell oranges that are grown organically, that we chant to them every day, or we massage them with oil and we rub the leaves. Now that type of orange is completely different, and it's worth a lot more money to the right person. The second thing that I would say is, constantly, as much as we think it's, I don't want to say intuitive, but it's knowledge out there today, is you have to understand your perfect client. You have to understand your avatar. So many people, I get it, want to globally change the world or globally own what they do. But they first just need to start in one neighborhood or one group of people that fit. And I think it's Brendan Bouchard that says it well at one of the events I went to for him. He's like, look, you got to dig deep first before you go wide. And most people try to go real wide first, and then they pillar out. They don't have the endurance to keep going.
Yeah, totally understood. Now, as you've continued to do business now, there came that point where you said, hey, not only have I learned some things, but now you're offering these ideas to other businesses so that other businesses have a shot at providing more jobs and doing the things that they do. At what point did you decide to put on that superhero cape? That's the moment I consider where someone says, I'm gonna put on my own superhero tights and mask and save some other people. Where did that come from?
Yeah, so 3 years ago, what I wanted to do was show that I could get a $20+ million business to run without me here. So I gave up my office, me and my partner. If you came and visit us in New Jersey, you'd see I'm borrowing one of my employees' desks today because I have no office. And I put a sign on the door like, don't bother me in your own office, which he wasn't so thrilled about. But I learned that first by giving up this office here and showing that I could get a business to run itself was the first step. Could I do something that no one else has done? And then somehow I feel like, and I don't know where this point came from, I hit this legacy stage. Like, I don't know. It's like I woke up one morning and said, there's too many people in pain. And when I die someday and I'm gone, like, yeah, it'd probably be great. They'll stand around. They'll be like, Mike's done. He made a lot of money. He grew a big business. And I just thought, wow, as much as a lot of people would say that's very rewarding, it didn't sound rewarding to me. Mm-hmm. So I said, well, what do I want people to say at the end when I'm gone? And I want them to say he's a guy that changed lives, changed an industry, that he was an industry changer, that he helped more small business owners than anybody they know change their lives to serve their family. And I guess my quest is to save other people from the pain, because I hate when I hear a company go, I'm going through growing pains. And I'm like, but you don't have to, right? You don't have to have growing pains.
Okay, you got my attention. I would love to know what growing pains you think are the most avoidable.
Well, a lot of growing pains, and I'll talk some of them in our industry, and then I could expand on that. Like hiring is a growing pain. How to find great people, and look, it's easy to find great people. Again, you have to identify what the perfect person looks like. How do they act? How old are they? What is the culture fit for them? So once you can't find what you don't identify. So there's one big one that we found. Second thing, lead generation, right? Like lead generation, as hard as people think it is, it's very easy. I mean, create enough frequency and enough credibility in the right niche that you're in, okay? And that frequency and credibility will build trust, and it will create a magnet of leads. Now, I've learned this with the coaching, because the coaching business at this point is only a very little bit over a year. And I wanted, again, to challenge myself and show, could I do $1 million in coaching in less than a year? And we did it in 11 months by just identifying the perfect person, creating credibility. And here, if I was to give you, Jay, one of the biggest ones, and most people go, I've heard this before, but hearing and doing are two different things. Mm-hmm. You have to be willing to serve people in the market today to help them, asking nothing in return. And it creates this magnet of attraction. And I proved it in the last year in the coaching business, how by serving people with videos and content and blogs, and just like you're doing the podcast, you serve enough people, it comes back 1,000-fold.
Indeed. And I like the funny thing about something you just said is that I think as an entrepreneur, I know this is true for myself. When it comes to identifying that customer and working on the customer avatar and knowing who that is, we can tend to do a lot of work on that. For some reason, it escaped me to do that same type of work for someone who I'd want to be on the internal team. And I'm like, hey, that's a great idea. Why not do it? It worked there. It'll probably work if you do it for someone here on the internal team. Now, you begin to mention the coaching and the things that you're doing today. What are some of the industries? I mean, I'm assuming they're not all, electricians, but maybe they are. Okay. As you are out there listening to this particular episode, one of the things that I want to drive home, where you start is not where you stay. Where you start is not necessarily where you stay. I hear from you guys all the time, and you're saying things like, hey, Jay, what I want to do is that I want to do wholesaling, and I want to do some fixing and flipping so that I one day can go out there and build cash flow and buy and hold. Here's what I'm going to suggest. Start with the end in mind, and more importantly, learn to raise capital. At the end of the day, you're not going to spend the money anyway, so instead of earning and owning the capital that you're going to use, you might as well raise and control it. One of the unique things that can begin to set your business free. Now, it's Monday, and you guys know that we are always going to be announcing a new winner for a new prize. Obviously, this week we are giving away another cash flow board game. If you want to be able to win a cash flow board game or win one of our prizes, all you got to do is you got to rate, review, and subscribe. Rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, and that's it. Make sure you leave the written review, because otherwise I can't tell you that you won. And this week's winner is Roy.W. That was the username that you used, Roy.W. Roy, I need you to send us an email at info@cashflowdiary.com so we can get you your cashflow board game. That's all you got to do. Rate, review, and subscribe. Now, let's get you back to the rest of the interview.
No, so, we work with electricians and HVAC and pest control and landscapers and painters. I have a dog trainer that we're working with. Because look, in the end, marketing is marketing, right? Customer service is customer service. Systems and operations are systems and operations. It can be applied to any business. And it doesn't matter. And Jay, one of the things that just came to my mind that I would add to that list of things there that really make a difference, and it's another thing that a lot of people hear, it's challenging these personal limiting beliefs. And I always tell people, when you think you don't have a limiting belief, let me know, because I'll always ask the same question. I say, look, at what age do you think you'll live to where you'll still be vibrant, you'll run around, you won't be wearing, a diaper or something, you'll be healthy, strong, what age? And as soon as they give me a number, it doesn't matter what the number is, 85, 95, I said, perfect, there's your limiting belief. You gave yourself an expiration date. Right? So knowing that every day, every week, every month, there could be another limiting belief we just have to ask. And I tell my wife all the time. She goes, "How do you do it? I don't get it." I said, I don't know any better. I don't know any better of what is possible and what's not. I tell my employees that, my coaching guys, like, I don't know. If someone says, "Can we go there?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go there."
Yeah. Indeed. And even if no one's been there, it doesn't really matter. The point is the idea was given to you, and go find out. If nothing else, as we've discussed earlier, you're going to learn some things along the way that are going to become valuable lessons for someone else. And you might as well then leverage that and offer it in a completely different sense. So when it comes down to it, I guess today, and I'm just curious to see if you're anything like myself, which do you enjoy more at this moment? Managing or overseeing what you guys have already started, or working with the new businesses, helping them to get past these limiting beliefs?
Wow. A year ago, I would have told you it's the coaching thing, but I have right now, I don't look at the coaching and my service business or my investment business as any different than one entity. And it just falls into one of two brackets. It falls in my wealth bracket, my freedom bracket, or both. So I got to tell you, like, for my service company, I have 145 of the greatest employees on the planet, that when I walk through the building, there's balloons and ice cream and popcorn. I mean, it's a thriving environment. And when I'm coaching, I'm driven by the results and the stories I hear. So it's so weird. I guess if you did put a gun to my head today, I would say serving the coaching clients, just because there's a quicker reward that I feel, a more adrenaline rush by it. But boy, is it so close to 50-50 for me.
It is amazing when we go out there to have an impact on someone else's family. At least for me, I definitely agree. Now, there's a concept that you call stackable marketing. Can you unpack that for us? Because I'm guessing, I can guess at what I think it is, but I think I want everybody to hear it. And most importantly, how can we use it to our advantage?
Yeah, I love stackable marketing. I'll tell you why. Because, I'll give you an example. Like, direct mail today is still one of the largest lead generator mechanism tools out there to grow any business. And how do I know that? Because Bed Bath & Beyond and Walmart and Sears and Nordstrom's and Black and White Store and all these places are still filling up my mailbox.
You got that 20% off coupon from Bed Bath & Beyond too, huh?
Oh, I've been collecting those, like my wife's got a stack of those. I tell her that blue coupon put out a whole business, linen and things, put them out of business. And at the end of the day, as naive as we are, think we're saving money when we go there with it. They have it nailed. Every time you walk in the store, you buy more than one thing, right? So it's brilliant. But the thing that they've learned too about the stacking is, look, you can't send out one direct mail piece. So I always look at it as, how many ways can I stack this piece to the same person that I want to talk to, my same avatar, and I just want to emotionally move them from where they are to where I want them to go. And where I want them to go is to call me, to make a purchase, to make an investment in what we're selling. So let's say I'm going to send out a postcard, and I have a list where I can mail them a postcard. I then can stack it, which, let's say I'm going to follow up with an email, and I'll tell you things I use in my service business today. I also know the area that I sent the direct mail and email. I put a billboard in the main street that goes in and out of that area. Okay. I'm social media blasting at the same time, geographing that. So what I mean by stacking is I'm constantly building this frequency that builds on it, but I'm talking to them in a way that I'm not asking them to get married. I'm just asking them first to see me hey, I'm here. Do you recognize I'm here? This is what I do for people. And I'm hoping that after they see me enough frequency, it'll build trust. They'll say, you know what? Let me go on a date with this company. Let me try it out a little bit. Let me taste it, right? Let me buy it. And then after they create that interaction, we build momentum on the level we serve them. And then I want them to get to the point where they say, you know what, I'm going to create some loyalty here. I'm going to stay married to this company, dedicated to the service. I mean, Apple's a prime example of this. I mean, I'm an Apple person. And when you're an Apple person, it's like
Right.
if you got a Dell or Toshiba, like you're outside the club, right? Like we're like, oh, you got a Dell. Like we don't even want to sit by you in the airport, right?
I knew I liked you for a reason.
Yeah,
Mike.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
And, and we're like, oh, you got an Apple, you got to have everything, right? Now I don't have the watch yet, but you got to have the iPhone and all these. We're Apple nuts, right? So
Right.
now, once we did that, now I just need to stay married to you for a long time. And that's what happens a lot of times is first, people are trying to do this one shot thing instead of layering it on top of them, on top of the tools to emotionally move them from where they are to where you want them to go. And too many people want to get married and they didn't even start dating yet. And so when you look at that, and I know that's a fast version of Stackable, but let's use the postcard one again. Even if I just stack the postcard, which sending a different size or a box or whatever, you can mail, I think you could still do it. You can mail a watermelon through the post office. When I look at that, the little increments of making sure they see me over and over gives me a return that's is off the hook. Like we've had returns on direct mail, 40 to sometimes 60% return on it by stacking it this way.
Now that those are phenomenal numbers. And speaking of the watermelon, there was a time that I was in Belize. You just reminded me where I actually saw them mailing a watermelon. So I can personally say that, and it had a sticker on it. I thought it was hilarious. It said fragile.
Awesome.
I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess that's true. So it definitely, if you really, really want to mail a watermelon, go for it. But for those who might not yet, I mean, because again, some of the techniques that you're referring to, especially from a marketing standpoint, not everybody might, especially if they're first starting out, might not have the resources for a billboard. Now, don't get me wrong. As a real estate guy, I want your billboard on my property because I want that rent. But as a person starting a business today, is a billboard is that really a viable option from the beginning?
No. So I'll tell you a viable option in the beginning. So first, identify the avatar. Who's the perfect person that you'd like to make the investment in your business? Second, understand who else also is talking to that avatar. So let me give you an example. For us, right? We do air conditioning. So I know that most companies that do landscaping are serving homes where that customer's paying for landscaping, which means they don't do it themselves. So they like to invest in an easier life. Well, I know that I can talk to this landscaping company and say, hey, by the way, I know you serve a lot of customers and you're probably blowing leaves into their air conditioning unit outside. I'll tell you what, would you be okay if we serviced those customers and every time we service them, we would give you a percentage or serve you somehow? So that is the cheapest version of finding who else is serving. And this has made me millions and millions of dollars, finding out who else is serving your perfect client, but without what you're doing, and make a connection with them. And you could scale a business bigger than anything fast, like a rocket ship.
And I'm assuming that particular technique works regardless of the industry.
Regardless of the industry, because there is in every single industry, I don't care if it's internet driven, whatever it is, someone else is selling something to that person that you don't sell, that you can connect with.
Now you got to be careful, Mike. You keep using the word sell. That could be a 4-letter word to some people, and we don't want to scare them, but I'm going to ask you to use that word a few more times as you explain, because marketing is one thing, but sales is another. Can you have one without the other? Can I get to the success that I want to without learning that skill set too?
Well, I get no, I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can. And here's what I'll tell you. And I use the word sell on as we're talking today, but if you walk through my company and said the word sell, you'd get tackled in my service business because we only use the word serve. But if I use the word serve, most people listening to the podcast wouldn't understand how that applies to results. But to me, if you serve people at the highest level, now selling, I understand. And I think it's changing some in these Gen Yers and different generations. But, most of them, I'm 44 now. So most of us, maybe in this bracket or a little older, still feel like the encyclopedia salesman, or I still remember the Hoover vacuum guy coming to the door, right? As a young kid. And they look at that as dirty. But I always tell people, when you think that selling is a bad word, I will tell you, if there's a time that you ever tried to convince your wife, your significant other, your girlfriend, like, hey, can I go to this football game or go play golf? Like, you're selling. Just change it into a different word.
Totally. You mean I can't go? I know it's our anniversary, but I really would like to go bowling.
That's right.
Yeah, totally. Not the way to do it. Now, when it comes down to it, at this particular stage, what's keeping you excited? What's keeping you going? What is it? What's next?
Yeah, I love it. I labeled 2015 the year of empire for myself. And the year of the empire for me is I will grow the coaching business. I have a second book on leadership that's almost done. And, my goal is to, and I should say, I don't use the word goal. I always use the word target, because goal has been these, so many people have learned that goals, they can fail and still feel maybe semi-satisfied, but a target's a destination in time. So my targets this year are my service company will go to 25 million this year. We're excited about that. And it looks like we will exceed that, but our target's 25 million. The coaching business will go to 2 million. So that's got me really excited. And the fact is that I've become the number one, I always say, the Hulk of this industry for changing lives and service businesses. So, that's got me. I jump out of bed every morning just to tackle those things.
Now, for those who might not yet get the privilege of enjoying working more in line with their values and those things that they absolutely love to do, can you just describe, because that could be a foreign concept. How on earth can he get? I know when I've said things like that, people look at me funny. Like, you like what you do, like, every day? Are you sure? Could you go into a little bit more detail just to help people past that particular limiting belief?
Yeah, I think the thing is, like, I would like doing anything. Like, I could pick up dog crap and like doing it, and I'll tell you why, Jay, because you have to first love life. And I love waking up in the morning and knowing I'm alive for one more day. I mean, the fact that I will be able to hug my 15-year-old son, my 13-year-old daughter, and my wife of 27 years. I mean, the fact that I'll be able to see them, to breathe the air. So I think once you really come to grips that life is such a precious gift, and I mean, every day you watch the news, it will remind you how precious it is. That's what drives me first. It's not the business. It's not the coaches, anything. It is the fact that I love life so much. And that's the thing I think people really need the mental shift of is I always tell them and I remember I did this to my son when he was young, and people think I'm a little weird for that. He was very unhappy and very upset over something. I don't remember what the subject was. And I brought him over to Google and I typed in, like, I don't know, it was like two-headed child or something. And I said, look at this person here. And I said, this person has 2 and 3 heads and is smiling and excited, but can't walk, right? And this person has no arms and legs, and look at how happy they are. And you're here complaining. I think it was like his bicycle tire went flat, And years later, I knew that this made a positive impact of him to really appreciate what he does have over what he does not have.
Yeah. It's something about what we focus on tends to enlarge and more and less takes over that mental space. But pretty much anyone who's listening to our voice is probably heads and shoulders above the majority of the individuals currently on the planet, simply by virtue of the fact that you possess a device that is capable of receiving this particular transmission or file. And we have a lot to share, all of us, in various different ways. And it becomes figuring out how to package those gifts and put them together. So tell us a little bit, if you would, Mike, what would you say when you've been working with a number of different people now, what would you say is like maybe the top 3 impediments that many people are experiencing when they come to you, and how do you help them pass them?
Okay. So the first largest one is always leads, more business.
Okay.
And again, when I look at a lead problem, I look at it as it's a structural organizational problem that they have. It's that they don't know how to position themselves in a market. They don't know who they should talk to, and they don't know when they should talk to them. Once we step back and can do the 10,000 foot view, right? Look at the earth from outer space. It becomes apparent, okay, I see why I'm struggling, because, I have a company, but it doesn't have half as much value delivery as another business. So you can see it, right? The second thing is always seems to be hiring. It's that, and again, it's because they haven't identified exactly what they want. And the reason is because, they're trying to just get a beating heart sometimes. They don't even know what their culture's like. And I always say, look, like culture and business and everything, it will either be created by design or by default, but you will end up with something, right?
Yes.
Good or bad, you'll end up with something. And I would say the third thing always happens around time management, freedom, this type of thing. And it's because they're really just not stepping back and looking at the tools that are there and just asking themselves the one question: if I could do this any different that would make my life easier, what would that be? And I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and I said, do you realize to coach your employees, you could push a button on your phone called FaceTime, and you could look at him no matter where he is today, and you could have a conversation and coach him in 3 minutes and hang up. And I said, even better than that, do you realize at 9:00 at night, you could record a 2-minute video on how to do things different and motivate your employees, and it could be in their email inbox at 7:30 in the morning? I mean, we are living in the greatest time ever, but they just don't understand how to leverage their time using all these different tools. And most of them are free today,
right?
Free. And those would be the 3 big ones that I hear over and over again.
Absolutely. And I love the unique ways of using the tools that we've either already paid for in terms of our cell phones and technology that are just there. And we just got to come up with new ways to go out there and deliver value. And I like that a ton. And delivering value to the internal team definitely pays off dividends when it comes to serving those that our customers and those that we want to serve. So, Mike, I'm going to guess that at about this point, there's a number of people who probably want to know, how can I find out more? What you're up to? How can I, for a lack of a better word, tell us how to stalk you online so that we can take advantage of more of the things that you have to offer and more or less grow our own businesses.
Yeah, well, definitely track me down on Facebook and LinkedIn. You could just search for me at Michael, Michael, and I'll spell my last name because it's a little wild. It's not as easy, but it's Agugliaro. So definitely find me on Facebook and LinkedIn. And on Facebook, you'll see my real life. I don't hide my life, and I share tons of content and just to help serve people today. And the other one is go to my website, secretsofbusinessmastery.com. And there's tons of great free resources on there to help you grow your business.
Okay. Now, as we wind down here, I got to ask the same question. I want you for a moment to pretend that you're talking to that person who's standing outside of the superhero store right now, thinking of buying their first mask, their first cape, putting it on, wondering, do I have what it takes? Can I actually save people or help them and serve them in some way? I don't really know. But they're still feeling that little bit of hesitation, but they know that there's something burning inside. What would you say to them?
I would say to them that what is the best thing that can happen for you if you strap on that Hulk uniform and Hulk mask? What is the very best outcome that can happen? And then what is the outcome that would happen if you did nothing at all and just stood there and never took a step forward? And I would say that if you want to serve yourself, your family, your vendors, your employees, and just the world at whole, give them the gift of you stepping forward and putting on that superhero mask.
Wow. I love how you called it a gift, for sure. I definitely appreciate you taking the time to invest with us here. It's sharing your wisdom, your strategies, so that we could have a shot at being able to, as you said, share our gift with a few more people.
Thank you, Jay. It's been an honor to be on your show today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what? It is time for you to move at the speed of instruction. What does that mean today? It means Secrets of Business Mastery is probably where you need to go. Track him down on Facebook. And yes, look for Michael, the guy with the silent U and the silent G in his name. He is out there to help you and I make progress and move forward. Remember, we all have a limiting belief, but it's also important to know that we can move past them, and he's the guy that can help you do it. It's been fun talking to you guys today. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until next time.